Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. In this video, I want to describe 10 features that you should consider before buying a camp axe. After watching this video, you can go to my website, www.basictentcamping.com, where you'll find over a dozen different hatchets that are suitable for modern tent camping chores. First, let's define the uses of a camp axe. Most tent camping families stay in developed state and federal campgrounds where they cannot cut standing trees and frequently cannot cut or remove deadfall. Instead, they must buy bundles of firewood and use their camp axe to split each piece multiple times. Typically, they begin with a piece of firewood that is about 6 inches in diameter and split each piece until it has been reduced to several pieces of stovewood and kindling. Occasionally, campers may want to make a baton out of a piece of firewood or a wedge, or make a walking stick. Now let me describe the 10 important features. First, you should consider the price of the hatchet. Camp hatchets, or axes, range in price from as little as $12 to as much as $200 or more. I suggest that you consider those in the $30 to $60 range, because hatchets in this range are affordable for most camping families and yet still have reasonably good quality. The second feature to consider is the overall fit and finish of the head and the handle. A few family campers prefer hatchets with steel handles because these handles are more resistant to overstrike damage. A few more campers prefer the Fiskars or Gerber hatchet with a fiberglass handle because the handle is guaranteed for a lifetime. But most experienced wood craftsmen, campers, and collectors prefer handles made from ash or hickory because these axes are efficient wood processing tools and comfortable to use. Personally, I prefer the wooden handle axes, but when you buy a wooden handle axe, there are several more things you need to look for. First of all, you need to look to see how well the handle is joined to the head. This Husqvarna hatchet, for example, has a very poor fit between the handle neck and the eye of the head. You should also look at the top of the eye to be sure that the handle is wedged properly. Then look at the finish of the handle. You may have to sand off wax or varnish and apply a coat or two of boiled linseed oil. A nice palm swell and lanyard will help keep the axe from slipping out of your hand when you're tired. Finally, examine the grain orientation of the handle. Now, many axe collectors contend that handles with poor grain orientation are subject to sudden breakage. My experience does not support this contention, but I do agree handles with good grain orientation look nice. If you buy a used axe, you want to see how much rust is there. Rust can be removed with vinegar or electrolysis, but it takes time and effort. You'll also want to examine the handle to see if you'll need to replace it. Axe handles range in length from about 9 inches to about 36 inches. Longer handles allow you to exert more force with each swing. When fitted with a heavier head, they can be used to cut down large trees and to split large tree rounds. Shorter handles allow more control and are easily packed. Typically, axes with short handles are used to cut small saplings and split small pieces of wood. Early bushcraft enthusiasts such as Morris Kohansky recommended 3/4 length axes with 28-inch handles. But I believe that axes with shorter 13 to 15-inch handles are better suited for modern tent camping chores because they are long enough to generate the force needed to split 6-inch diameter wood, yet short enough to allow the control necessary to split kindling and to pack into a tool bag. The The fourth factor to consider is the shape of the head. To understand the importance of this factor, you need to first understand the concept of an overstrike zone. This is the area of the axe handle between the axe head and the lower tip of the axe blade that is most likely to strike the wood when splitting it. I prefer axes with a Dayton or Michigan shaped head because they have small overstrike zones, but other campers prefer axes with Hudson Bay, Rhineland, and half hatchet heads despite their larger overstrike zones. To protect this area of the handle, campers need to add some type of overstrike protection. I use leather. Without protection, the shoulder of the axe handle will get chewed up and require early replacement. Axe heads range in weight from about a half a pound to over 5 pounds. This little Norland Voyager hatchet head, for example, weighs about 12 ounces. Most scout and camp axes weigh about 1¼ pounds. And the head of this small est-wing splitting maul weighs about 4 pounds. I prefer a camp axe that weighs about 1½ to 1¾ pounds because this weight is heavy enough to split 6-inch diameter firewood and light enough to split kindling. Centerline curvature is a sixth factor. Splitting mauls are flat along this line, but most camp hatchets have a concave curvature. This concave curvature reduces the weight of the head and helps to enhance its chopping efficiency. But it also reduces splitting efficiency, but not noticeably so. Curvature along the perpendicular line is more important. Good splitting axes have a flat surface along this perpendicular line, but most small hatchets have a convex curvature with a high point at the center line. Some have just a subtle curvature, but others have a more pronounced curvature. The purpose of this perpendicular curvature is to prevent the axe from sticking in the wood. But when I'm splitting small pieces of wood, I want the axe to stick where I hit it. Instead of sticking in the wood where you hit it, this curvature pushes the firewood down toward the shoulder of the handle where it can cause damage. The eighth factor to consider is the shape of the edge and the bit. Splitting axes typically have a flat edge, while cutting axes typically have a curved edge. Camp axes should have a slightly curved edge. Just behind the edge is a thicker bit that provides strength to the edge. Thicker bits are well suited for splitting larger pieces of wood, but thinner bits are more than adequate for splitting small pieces of firewood and performing other camp chores. After making the axe, most manufacturers use a heating and rapid cooling process to harden the front edge. This edge should be soft enough to allow easy sharpening, but hard enough to remain sharp after several hours of splitting and chopping. If you soak the axe head in vinegar for a couple of days, you can see this hardened edge as a darker color metal. Ideally, the manufacturer should state the hardness of the bit as a number on the Rockwell scale, but they rarely state the Rockwell hardness for axes in this price range. Also, be skeptical of any opinions expressed after reprofiling the bit or the edge, because the reprofiling may have damaged the hardness of the steel. Finally, a good camp axe should have a sheath to protect the edge from chipping, to protect other camping gear, and to protect the user from accidental injury. And the Est-Wing Sportsman's axe comes with a fairly nice sheath. And the Husqvarna curved handle hatchet comes with a fairly nice edge cover. But most axes in this price range do not come with a protective sheath. You could cover the edge with a rag, but it would be much better to make a leather sheath. Instructions for making a sheath can be found in one of my other YouTube videos. To see my list of the best camp axes priced under $60, please visit my revised webpage, www.basictentcamping.com. For more information about camp axes, please read my book, Basic Tent Camping, and visit my Facebook page, Modern Tent Camping. Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money. Go tent camping.